Hey folks, welcome back to AAA Farms. It's kind of bright out. Oh, anyway, so we changed the air intake seal, so I didn't change my problem. I was kind of dumbfounded at that point because I didn't know what else it could be. So I went to start digging the duck pond. Rain happened, so now I'm kind of stuck where I can't do anything. I went and I pulled the sending unit from my gas tank on the Harley and found that there is just a whole bunch of nasty gunk on the inside of it, just from it sitting for so long, because this bike sat probably roughly 15 years or so, and there's just a lot of crud in it, so we're going to clean all that out today. So as you can tell, the Harley looks a little bit different now. I already got the gas tank off. Dirt diver nest everywhere. That's just how it is, and I'm not sure about everywhere else. In Louisiana, if something sits, it's going to have dirt divers in it. So I will clean all this out while the tank is off and kind of go from there. But get y'all caught up to speed where I'm at. I had to take the dash off. It's just a screw that's like right here, and there's a nut up on this side of it. Take those off, disconnect the sending unit, which is this plug here. Pulled the said sending unit, which is this one. After that, there's a fuel line that wraps around the frame here. You got to disconnect it. Before I did any of this, I actually pulled the petcock out, drained all the gas into a 5-gallon bucket. There's only about a gallon or so in the bike. Anyway, pulled that. There's 2 bolts on each side here. There's a bolt that goes back here, and then the only other thing is your fuel gauge plugs in here. So you just disconnect it, and then you get the tank off. So if we look down in here and get us some light, you see all the nasty gunk, all this lovely stuff here. The dirt right there was from when I pulled the screw out, I'm assuming, because there's dirt divers nests everywhere. But there is just nasty, no good stuff all over this thing. So we're gonna get all that cleaned out. Alright, so the first thing I did is with everything disconnected, I went ahead and brought it to the water hose and just blew out all the big crud that I could get out. And then I put my petcock back in and I reconnected my fuel line on the front. So one thing you can do to boil all this stuff out, which is what I'm going to do, is you can add 1 to 2 gallons of white vinegar and then fill it up the rest of the way with water, which is what I'm going to do. So we'll add our white vinegar, and what this does, this will eat up all the bad stuff, but it shouldn't hurt the tank. It's not supposed to. It's not supposed to hurt the tank, the metal, or the paint on the exterior, but it is just acidic enough to eat all the varnish, rust, and all that stuff. So I'm gonna add 2 gallons. It said you could do 1 to 2 gallons, but I went ahead and did 2 gallons just because it's a 5-gallon tank. And once we fill this up, you essentially just leave it like that for 24 to 48 hours. I haven't decided which I'm going to do, because it is Saturday. I am off tomorrow or Sunday, and then Monday is Memorial Day, so I'm also off for that. So I don't know. I'm going to think on it. The only thing I am worried about is my petcock. I don't know if this is going to harm the petcock because it got some plastic in it. But if it does, I'll just buy another one. Ain't that big a deal. I did take my filter housing off just in case, but and then we'll fill it up the rest of the way with water. didn't really say this part of it, but you want to try to get your tank level, because you know it's going to fill up to this opening here. So I think I got mine relatively level, or at least level enough. You can already see some of the crud that was in there. So I'm gonna let it sit for a few hours and come back and check on it just to see what it looks like. I'm gonna make sure that we're not leaking anywhere real quick, which I mean it should just be the fuel line up front and the petcock back here. All of that looks fine. And like I said, we're looking to leave it for at least 24 hours. Probably going to do longer than that though. And we'll see what it looks like. It's supposed to eat all the rust and all the varnish and all the bad things. Hopefully it helps with the bike running better. Alright, we'll check back in a few hours. So this is roughly 2 hours later. You definitely see more stuff floating in there. So that rust right there would be a pretty good indication, because like I said, this stuff's supposed to clean all this up really well. We'll have to see. Alright, we'll check it in the morning. Alright y'all, it's the next morning. Or next day. It's been about 20 hours. We can actually see big chunks of rust starting to float up. And it looks like we're getting, it's hard to see down there, but right there and right there, it looks like the rust's starting to clear up. One thing I did notice is on this metal surface here, there's some surface rust forming, but it just wipes on off, so not too big of a deal. That'll clean up. But I'm going to let it sit for probably close to 48 hours. The main reason being, I just went ahead and bought a new petcock. Because this one, with the tank on the bike, when you go to put it in, you kind of beat this up a little bit, and then that cap had popped off. It's back on there now. It just pops on. But kept thinking last night, with all this stuff floating in the tank and everything, you know, it's possible that stuff's going to get into the petcock and all that. We'll start fresh, brand new petcock. So we'll see where this gets us, but that will be here tomorrow. So I'm probably tomorrow going to go ahead and drain all this once I get the petcock, put the new petcock, you know, do everything I got to do, put the new petcock and everything back together, and see if that fixes my problem. But you can definitely see it's doing something. Alright, I'll check back in with y'all after a while. Hey folks, so it's 4 days later. So I did 48 hours on the gas tank and realized there's tons of rust on the sending unit, so kind of wanted to let it soak too, so I put the sending unit back in. This sending unit does not work, or at least it didn't before all this, so not too big a deal. But this bracket was covered in rust, not to mention this top piece here was covered in some sort of white powder, but it looks like it cleaned all this rust off. It looks like we got some, I don't know, some type of grime or something there, I don't know. And then y'all can see all the nasties floating in there. So, it's currently raining outside, or semi-raining. So, but what I'm about to do is dump it all out. I'm going to put it on that pallet right there. We're going to rinse it out. Then we're going to put baking powder in it, or baking soda. Yeah, baking soda in it. And let it, basically that, fill it up. That will neutralize all the acid. And then you unplug it, drain all that out. It doesn't have to sit like that long. It's just there to neutralize that acid. So I'll probably let it sit for a minute or two and then pour it all out, wash it all out, and then take my heat gun and try to dry the inside of this tank out the best I can. Let's get started. All right, let's see what all comes out. Oh yeah. Tons and tons of stuff. Definitely looks a lot cleaner in there. We're gonna go try to rinse all this stuff out and go from there. Alright, I got the petcock pulled out and I got this front line disconnected. About to just rinse it out really good. See what more junk we get out. Okay, the next step, I got everything cleaned out that I can see. Probably do some more rinsing, but I'm gonna go ahead and throw this baking soda in here. This should neutralize the acid. And we're just gonna fill this up. for a sending unit. So I rinsed it off too. But we'll go ahead and put our sending unit back in. Then we're just going to shake it. Cock out, and we're going to let all this dry. I'm going to rinse the sending unit and all this stuff off. So we got a lot of that nasty debris out. We did finish taking off the liner with it, so just be prepared for that. And make sure you get it all rinsed out really well. My liner was already coming off and coming apart. That's all the stuff we saw up here earlier. But it looks really, really good now. So I'm gonna bring it over there and we're gonna hit it with the heat gun. Or I'm gonna go in with a towel, try to dry it off as much as I can, then hit it with a heat gun to dry it off the rest of the way. So I went in a towel, dried as much as I could on the inside. So now I'm gonna go in my little Bauer heat gun and just heat all this up to try to get whatever water's left. You can also use compressed air to speed this process up, but I'm thinking with drying it with that towel, I can get the rest of it with this. All right, y'all, this is the finished product. So we got most of that in the liner that's falling apart. The pieces that are in there, like right there, all that's still stuck to it really well. Around the fuel gauge right there, along with that pipe, and around our gas fuel cap. I can see how well that turned out. So it looks a lot better than it did. So I'm hoping that fixes my problem. So now we just gotta put the tank back on the tank back on the motorcycle. There we go. All right, y'all. That's gonna be it on this one. We got the motorcycle back running. Had to adjust the idle screw just a hair, but other than that, it's running pretty good. Both cylinders are hitting. It's idling good. I would really love to be able to take it for a test drive. However, it has been raining all day and it's muddy, and I got a dirt road, and dirt roads and motorcycles don't go well together. So I will give y'all an update once it dries off to tell if it's fixed it or not. I don't know. Anyway, thank y'all for joining me on the farm today. This was a fun one to do. It got rid of all that rust and all the other debris and all that, but it also removed that liner in there, which is falling to pieces anyway. You don't have to have that liner. You can hear that thing revved up. Probably just warmed up. I probably adjusted my idle screw a little bit too soon, and I probably need to dial it back just a hair. It ain't been running but for a minute or two. So. But it's running great. Anyway, it got all the junk and debris out of there. I feel like I gotta walk away. So we got all the debris and all the junk out of there. It did remove what was left of the liner. All that took a bit to get cleaned out, but all that was kind of bubbling up and coming off. You can see that early in the video. So I mean, it did what I needed to do. Can't 100% tell you if I recommend it. It worked. It did what it did. Don't know if there's any long-term consequences, but this is a common method used by a lot of people, so I imagine it's perfectly fine. But once it dries off and gets back to motorcycle weather, we'll see what happens and go from there. Bike's running great. All right, y'all. Thank you for joining me on the farm today. Y'all have a good one, and I'll talk to y'all next time.